All right. Well, we're back. We're back on the nightclub, huh? Oh, Sal Barbier is here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How was the drive over here? Good?
Yeah.
Are you out in like Hollywood or Silver Lake or something? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in the hills.
In the hills? Oh, in the Hollywood Hills. Look at you.
Fancy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to day by day? Like, what's your vibe?
I drop my kids off at school, and then, maybe I'll go to the gym. I got to stay in shape. I'm older, so to do physical activity, one must stay in shape.
Of course, right.
And then the rest, I don't know, boring stuff.
Yeah?
I don't think people want to hear about it.
But you go to the park, though. You skate the bowls and stuff.
I guess it's always the same. I like skating, working on cars, and playing music.
Oh, yeah? Working on cars?
Yeah.
Oh, older car. What do you got?
I like I probably like 90s era muscle.
How much work do you have to do on a 90s car?
That's a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're pretty run down. I like to get them a bit run down.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Body work and everything? Do you do it all, or?
I got friends that do the body work. So
right.
I'm like a 90, I'm a Louisiana kind of 90s era heavy metal shit. Like a Mustang or a F-150 or.
Okay, you like them loud.
Yeah, just muscle, something with a historical engine under it.
I hate loud cars because I live on the road. So I want all cars to be electric. I hate it.
Quiet.
Yeah, keep the roads quiet, you know. But that's rad, though, dude. So Louisiana, born and raised.
Correct.
Wow. How was it like growing up there?
It was awesomely racist and
really. Really?
Yeah, all like 100%.
Wow.
Skating. It was like if you skated, people were like, "Yeah, you were a freak." If you skated, it was like, "Yeah," and it was kind of like extra being a black freak that skated.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, it was like, it was interesting as far as that goes. You could go to like. There's always racism around ramps. I'm just saying. I'm saying. Like you always had a fucked up half pipe that had some like rebel flag in the background. Like you're from L.A., so if you're skating, it wasn't like you went to a schoolyard and someone hung up a rebel flag in the back of the fence while you were skating. Like
the Confederate? Yeah. Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was. Anytime you got to a ramp in the deep South, you're like. It's a very sometimes uncomfortable feeling.
Would you get like
no, but that let's just say, I first experienced it at a quarter pipe, and I was
sure just weren't fans of Dukes of Hazzard.
No, it was gnarly because I was a young, before I could kick anybody's ass. I was like a small, very small dude. I had barely been skating.
How old do you think? Like
I had to be like maybe 15, 16.
Oh, okay.
And I went to this kid's quarter pipe, and this fucking, what did he look like? He looked like a roadie for Foghat. He came out and he's like, "Chuck, what did I tell you about bringing them around here?"
Really?
Yeah, and I was just like, "Damn, dude." I was like, "Let's go, dude." He's like, "It's gonna be cool," and I was like, "He's not really like." I was like, "Fuck that, man."
Whoa. Jeez. That was your first experience of?
No, I had when I was younger.
Right.
I was in a like hanging out in a department store. I was fucking maybe in the 5th grade, and I was looking at the baseball equipment, and then there's like 2 random dudes like. Were older, and they were like, "Yeah, he fucking stole something. Look at him, dude." Just racial slurs, and
Jeez.
So
damn, dude.
Early on, it was it wasn't like the way you have it now.
Right.
Skating was some Rosa Parks shit.
Yeah,
where I'm from. Yes, dude. It was like it was not. Once you get around people that skate, there's going to be a lot of cool people that don't think that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time,
there are. That's how they were raised, right? In that type of household, probably. So they didn't know anything else.
This was so early on. It wasn't like because the guys after that, I was skating with like Charlie Thomas and Shannon May, and they were obviously not like that.
Right.
I probably heard most of my early rap music from those guys.
Okay. Yeah.
They're so open-minded and cool.
Yeah.
But early on, it was like shit would just pop up like that all the time.
I mean, at such a young age too. That's pretty devastating on the psyche, right? I mean,
to get that, yeah.
Right.
It's like, didn't make me hate white people. I just figured out early on, because then when you skateboard too, and you're going through the, it's not like it's a mainstream activity for blacks.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the 80s.
Right.
So it kind of opens your eyes to see like who's cool.
Right.
Just based on who's cool.
Huh. Yeah.
Was there a lot of people skating back then out there?
No. When I first started, I believe it was really hard to get a board. You couldn't get it. There was no place to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only people that had them were like, the punk rock guys had them. There was a handful of punk rock guys that had them. They got them, ordered them from Flipside, or I believe some sort of
CCS maybe.
No, it was like black and white Thrasher come off in your hand. They were ordering them from some publication that had like you could get records and T-shirts.
Okay.
My sister had got one. She was hanging out with some punk rockers. She was punk rock, man.
Oh.
And she was hanging out with him, and she had borrowed a board. That's the first time I saw like it. I think it was a Steve Olson board.
Oh, really?
And,
SOS? No,
yeah.
I mean Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend was into it. We all BMX'd first.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing tricks on ramps and stuff.
Okay.
And then it was kind of like, well, you could ride skateboards on the ramp too. So a couple of guys had skateboards and quarter pipes and driveways. You know?
Yeah.
And my friend had like a McGill with tracker magnesium and copers, and it was just like the most expensive board ever. And it was so cool.
Yeah,
it was the one with the jet on it, and it was just like, where'd you even get that? And
drove all the way to Florida to buy it.
It's something like that, really.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yo, man, I know a guy who's got one, small network. He's like, he's not going to ride anymore, and he's got it. And, it came out of a lake. So it was cracked.
Waterlogged.
Yeah, and it had like a tracker truck on the back where you couldn't take out the kingpin, and then the front was an ACS truck, and then both sets of wheels were different. And it was like...
You're like, why do I want this piece of shit?
No. It was big.
Yeah?
And I was like, fucking cool.
Right,
and I remember I put like contact paper on the bottom and tried to clean it up, and then it was like, well, there's no tape, so I had some like... country ass sanding disc, the round.
No way.
Yeah.
That was my tape, but I could skate. I like early on, I was like, fuck that. I was like doing all these foot plants and shit.
Okay.
So it's like when other people would see it, they'd kind of like start to vibe you, and then it was like, yeah, fuck, we ain't doing shit on yours. And it was like, so it was funny,
Wow.
It was like,
Yeah.
it really wasn't limiting, is what I'm saying,
Okay.
because a foot plant requires grip tape and wheels.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much.
Safe to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So the board was fucked up. I mean, it was just like, and then somehow he found another guy that was selling like a Veriflex Aero deck.
Oh.
Which was a cool ass board. It had like trackers with the Kryptonic C65s, and it was a
Okay.
real board, but it had everything was the same, and it didn't come out the lake.
Right.
And it was like a surreal moment riding
yeah?
it. I'll never forget that board.
Oh, wow.
It's the first real board I had,
Right.
And I could kind of, I had learned how to skate on the pile of shit that I had before.
But that changed the...
You probably felt so good to roll on
yeah,
that.
right?
Oh, it just felt, great,
And by then you could already do tricks and stuff.
I was like
You were-
rail sliding little poles and stuff.
Did you like get sponsored out there, or did you have to
No.
move away to like?
Well, see, we're talking about like, the first 2 or 3 months.
Oh, that's 2 or 3 months. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
the goal was like, the punk rock guys rode the ramp. They had a half pipe.
Right.
There was a half pipe. And our goal was, we're riding quarter pipes and we're building quarter pipes. So we're like, how do we get to the half pipe?
We need another
So-
quarter pipe.
Yeah, right.
No, so we would go to the we went to the guy's half pipe. By the time we found out about it, it was just, they were tearing it down or whatever. I mean, you're talking in Louisiana, you got a neighborhood, and then you put this big frickin' ramp up in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
A giant half pipe in the back of like
Yeah.
a house, and no one really says anything, right?
Right.
So they don't last that long,
Yeah.
because someone will say, dude, you're looking in my yard. What about insurance? If the landlord, it's not it's usually a rented home, and then
Yeah.
So, the goal there was, we were like, all right, well, you want to find another ramp. So if you don't have a ramp, you're like a quarter pipe. If you don't have a quarter pipe, you're like a ditch. And then you find a bank that like is like a little half pipe, and you put a curb on top, and we're putting plywood on there. So that's how it all started. You know, I was trying to do whatever, we're trying to do whatever you would do on a ramp.
Right.
You know, an air. You usually early grabbing and doing an air on a ditch.
Oh, in the ditch, right.
Or on the quarter pipe. We're early grabbing, doing an air on the quarter pipe, you know?
It's like mid-'80s.
Early 80s. And then after that, we started going on these wood runs where we'd go to some of the finer neighborhoods and take the most insane amount of wood that you could imagine, dude.
Like at construction places or
yeah, top of the line shit, with stamp shit on the end, and we'd bring it to we had this, we're gonna put it at our friend's house. Our friend was rich, so I was like, if the wood went down there, where'd you get the wood? Oh, I
bought it.
Yeah.
She would, she wouldn't question it. And then I was like, no one's going down in this dude's yard thinking he took this wood unless we don't saw the end of the 2x4s off, because they had information on the end that were stamped. Right. I was building all the ramps,
Oh,
so
you were building?
Yeah.
Oh.
All my early ramp building was like, I would, how you do it with a pencil and a string?
Yeah.
I thought you had to put it on 2 pieces of plywood. I didn't know you could shift a piece of plywood and then put another piece so you could get a bigger transition.
Oh, I see what you're right.
The first couple of them were like, oh, it's 8 foot of transition. So and it just shot to vert.
Straight up, right.
Yeah. I had a lot of hippers on the early ramps because it was just like, I would just shoot to the flat. And then same thing would happen. It was like, I'd get the ramp up, borrow the wood.
Okay. Borrow.
Do everything
quote
we
unquote
could.
Borrow the wood.
Yeah, and then it would get torn down. And then okay, well, the goal was, after it got torn down, was, okay, how do we get another one?
Right.
So about the 4th time,
and you're building them in
happened.
different places.
Yeah.
Right.
Different people of wealth had yards.
Okay.
My friends were like the punk rock dudes from the beginning.
Okay.
And they were like, we're gonna get a really good. They were a little older, and they're like, we're gonna do a really good one. And we got the Thrasher plans, and one of them was George Brown, my friend Blake. This other guy, Dave Kozan, who was going to school for architecture.
Okay.
So he's like, we're going to level it. We're going to
do it properly.
Proper, yeah.
Right.
So we put it in this neighborhood, and this kid, Brian, who lived in the same neighborhood as George, we put it in. He lived in a really nice neighborhood. And we're building the ramp there, and it's like, it's the string, everything's level.
Perfect.
It's beautiful. Yeah. We're raising money for wood, not even having to borrow it, and it's like, it's all coming together.
Yeah.
And then the neighborhood has like a giant rule book, that he didn't look at and they're like, dude, you gotta,
like a homeowner society.
Oh yeah. And you gotta take it down.
Yeah.
So okay, then we find another place to put it, and it was at my bandmate's house, right?
your bandmate.
Yeah,
okay.
Early, I was playing all that. All that.
What were you playing? Guitar or drums? Or you were singing, maybe?
No. We're skaters, so we were like.
What was the band name?
I don't get into those names. it had to have 3 initials, so it was like PBA, JFA, but I'll tell you what it stood for later. But so we're like, like, this guy's got once again in a nice neighborhood, and he's like, yeah, dude, put it in my backyard. Same thing. It leveled everything. Everything's just perfect. We get it over there. The thing's done. I don't even think I wrote it once. And then he's like, oh, my dad, the insurance ain't going to cover it the way he thought. You got to take it down.
Oh, God.
Okay, so after
Who
that.
would have thought so many troubles like in the 80s like that?
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
You think how hard it is to get a ramp back then, because you have to go into your backyard. Your parents have to say, how wide and how tall? 10.5 feet.
Yeah.
And it's going to take up all the backyard.
But like insurance back then, you wouldn't think that there was like.
Well, once it goes up, it looks like it's
a structure.
It's this giant thing back there.
Yeah.
What are you guys going to do in it? And then the one guy that can do airs comes over and does a couple airs, and they're like, we got to insure it.
Right. Okay.
So when they tore that down, okay, everyone's just like, that's kind of it for a lot of people. It's just kind of kind of over it. So. I was like, all right, shit. I'm just kind of like riding the board in front of my house, and cruising around, and
no quarter pipes, nothing, just
riding in the neighborhood, and then looking at all these videos, like looking at a Powell video, like a Bones Brigade show one, and I'm looking at everything Lance Mountain and Tommy Guerrero do.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try a hazard. I'm gonna try like a like a boneless with my hand down and come back away from the curb, and then looking at Guerrero do a 360.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
in the dish, and I was like, oh, wind up. I was like, I'm gonna try I set up like a sawhorse and put a piece of wood on it.
Just trying to emulate them.
Yeah. I was like,
I mean, that was your point of reference.
Yeah. I was like, oh, if you wind up, you could do it.
Right.
And then I started seeing other videos. And it was like, it was interesting because back then it was like if I went somewhere, I would find the vert ramp. And that's what I would skate.
Right.
I didn't give a shit about the rest of it. I was like, I was traveling, skating vert. If I went to the skate park of Houston, I go to the vert ramp. I was riding a Craig Johnson, So
Roger knows. I don't know what that
I don't know what that is either.
I mean,
Zorlak
Kelly.
board, yeah.
Oh,
well,
Zorlak.
it's like a board you'd ride if you were in the vert because the short nose and the shape lends itself to
Right.
probably like more of a vert board. It's wider, got a funky little cut. Although back then, street shapes are probably not really out much outside of Mark Gonzalez, And I think looking at videos, looking at all the Vision videos, where they'd put a commercial in and it was like, oh, I'd see like Gons and Lucero, and I was like, oh, there's a nose pick, and then I'd see like Gons kick flipping the Easy 7 ditch, and I knew, I ended up going to that ditch because it was in Houston, right? And then that's that's where the bar was. You could kick flip it because he kick flipped it, and that's
you would see what you you could do, right?
Yeah, because I didn't really. There weren't so many people around doing it where I was from. There was one guy. There was this guy named Deej who could ollie up something that was really high back then, and that was unbelievable. He was probably. I thought it was like him and Gons are the only ones that could jump up that high. I never seen anyone go straight. Right.
Okay.
You keep moving some years after that, and then it's like I had traveled a lot with the punk rock buddies to all these street contests, a lot of them, right? And this is like when I was going to Florida, and I didn't see Markovich yet. You know what I mean? I'm going that way. If you're in Louisiana, you can get to Alabama, Mississippi, and then I can get to Florida, but Pensacola.
Okay.
I don't go down. People don't go down. If you're in Atlanta, you go down or up. So that's
why.
why.
Handle part?
What I'm getting at is that's why, like, the people that turn pro from that area, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you know them because you're like, oh, you're Louisiana and you went that way. I didn't get like over to Andy Howell and people like that. But then when I go the other way, you can go to Texas too.
Right.
Anything that takes you about 6 or 8 hours.
Seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, when you're younger, you're not going to be driving with your friends like 24 hours or something. You're not doing that. You're gonna be like, oh, I could do it, hang out for a day, and then come back.
Right.
Because it's 6 to 8 hours.
How far was Houston from where you lived?
It's about 5 or 6 hours.
See, that's not bad. Yeah.
So I would go that way, but when I went that way, it was like I'd pad up and skate the metal. That's when I started. I had Charlie Thomas was an hour away.
Okay.
He was in Lafayette, and then on the other side, New Orleans was like Dwayne Petrie, Dave Young, Bobby, all these guys. Shannon May was Lafayette right there with Charlie.
So you were just meeting these people by traveling with your buddies, right?
The buddies had fallen off.
Oh, they'd fallen off.
The vert guys, I had done a lot of street contests with them before I met all these guys, and I didn't see those guys there yet. Oh. So I had done all these street contests where it was a lot of vert guys and there were some really rad street guys that were over there that never. Really good, but I just never saw them after this.
So these little contests you were talking about were vert contests or street contests?
They were street.
They were street. Okay,
yeah,
right.
And I think they might have had like, they weren't connected with the vert. Usually it's like vert one day and street. They were street. I think street was easier and more accessible, and it was like
throw a bunch of shit in a parking lot. And
they didn't have to build a fucking
They were great.
ramp.
They were the best time of my life. I have it written down somewhere where I wrote down everyone I went to, and I wrote down my placing and everything. It was just like
Did
when
you
I
ever
was a
get
kid.
first? Did you ever?
Like 25 times. No,
actually, I have the list right here if you want to see.
I want a shitload, dude.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I placed when I was like that.
But I'm surprised you didn't do a lot of vert shit. I mean, it seems like the vert was the only way.
I mean, I didn't get to the they tore down the vert so early. It's like I got, I didn't get to the level that I wanted to get at on vert. Right. It was just freaking gone. The street, it
was there. It was easy.
Well, the early stuff I'm talking about, the goal was like, let's drive to the vert ramp. Mm-hmm. Okay, then when the little street contest popped up, these are all my buddies that were like, we want to build a vert ramp. The only thing is a vert ramp. We would drive to these contests because it was like, you know, these are fun, these are cool, let's go check them out, let's just go do them.
Right.
And, you know, that wave of people that I was skating with, they were gone.
They were gone.
But I will say, I have to back it up, because before that, I remember right when that fell off, it didn't seem like many people were skating. Oh. And I knew I tried to organize a contest with a couple of friends.
Oh, throw your own contest.
Well, I wanted to have...
You wanted to win your own contest.
No. I wanted to have one.
Right.
And we were like, it'll be fun because everybody, they were all having one. Yeah. And I was like, how do we do it?
Right.
So when I wrote all the people to get stuff, you know, they all sent stuff back. That's how skating used to be. You could write Tracker and GNS and all these people, and they would send you prizes, right? I think they started asking me, like, you know, you got to have a place where you're going to do it, like a legitimate shop for us to send you things. So I went to, there was 2 places selling boards. It was like Capital Schwinn Cyclery and another place called the Bicycle Source. So I went to the Bicycle Source, you know.
Yeah.
And I liked the dude, you know. He's still my friend. He's like,
sick.
An awesome Hessian dude with cool, you know, like had a little mullet, and I was like, I could get down with this guy. So I said, hey man, you know, Brent, I got everything. I got the prizes. I built the ramps. I borrowed the bench and all this. Like, we can do it. And he's like, yeah, man, it sounds cool. Like, we could do it here. So I threw that contest there. And then it was cool. I think that's when I started meeting people that came from people that had I promoted it pretty good. I think we got it out. And people,
Instagram, you promoted it?
Yeah, we grammed it.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. How do you promote something like that, though?
You had to make the punk rock flyers where you cut letters out of a phone book and you cut them out of newspapers. And you know what I'm talking about?
Zines,
Yeah, but then where are you... like, how are you putting it on windshields?
You go to the other shops in Lafayette, in the ones in New Orleans, and you say, "Hey, we're gonna have a contest. Just put these flyers on the thing." You pass out flyers. You go to where all the skaters are, and you pass them out.
Wow,
all 10 of them. So, and then, you know, the other shops start. Oh, that's cool. We should do one, and then it's rad. Then they start doing one in New Orleans at JFJ, and then Surf and Skate in Lafayette.
Jim started a whole like contest movement down there.
Well, they had them before, like in.
Yeah, but you sparked it though again, right?
Well, I may have thrown the first street skating contest in Louisiana.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Damn. Look at that.
Always innovating, dude.
I know.
So I think. After that, you know, I remember at one point I felt like I was the only one who skated in Baton Rouge. I felt like that.
Interesting. Kind of lonely. Yeah.
I would go downtown because my mother was going to go down there and do an aerobics class, and I would get her to drive me down there. And I tell you, when I'd go down there, I was like, I didn't expect to see anyone. And I was never disappointed because I didn't see anyone. So, I would go down there.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I knew I was going to cruise all through downtown.
Solo.
Yeah. And somehow weird, because I was so motivated by the thrashers and the videos and stuff, you know, I'd be trying some crazy ass shit.
Okay.
You know, I'd be like, I'm going to jump over that rail, down that fucking thing. And it was like, you know, it was, you know, because you know how hard it is now.
Of course,
you're going to go down, you know, let's go down. I'm going to go downtown by myself. I'm a weirdo, and I'm just going to jump down some.
That's,
I just had shit that I had to do. I was like, if I don't do that rail again, you know, I was like, it's not going to be right. So I would just be like skating all this shit. And then I'll never forget that one day I went down there and I was skating around and I saw these wheel marks in the water. And I was like, dude.
Wait, in the water?
Like, you know, if someone rides to the water, like a track.
Got like a track, right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I was like, there's another skater down here somewhere. I was like freaking out. I was like, what? This is impossible. Like, where?
Let me guess, it was a roller skater.
No. This is the most incredible story you'll ever hear.
Right.
And I was like, where is this person, dude? I have to find it. You know? So I'm like, I'm trying to find where they are, where the tracks are. And then this guy's like, I give up because they don't go that far. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, you know, so I'm skating. And then after a while, this guy comes up and he's like, I was watching you skate for a little bit. And it turned out, and this is way before he was professional.
Okay.
This is crazy. It was Chris Fissel, right?
No way.
But he was he looked like Jason Lee.
Okay.
He was very thin and tall, and he was, you know, he was there because he's a born-again Christian, and his family moved there for Swaggart Ministries, right?
Okay, interesting.
So he had just moved there, and I was like, whoa, dude. And I tell you, man, at that time,
Did you know who he
I will
was?
say, no one knew who he was.
Yeah.
No one knew who he was.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew who he was
Right.
then at all because he hadn't done it. He didn't ride
He
for
didn't pressure flip
anyone.
anything yet.
No. When you saw him, no, look, when you saw him, he's like 95%. He's like declined 95%. Like he was the best guy I had ever seen
Okay.
at that time.
Wow.
100%. I had never seen anything like that. And I went to the 88 amateur finals afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people at the 88 amateur finals, and I'm like, no one has anything on this
Wow.
guy.
Wow.
And the people, when Charlie and my friend Mike and a couple other people saw him, they'd have to agree. They were like, dude,
Right.
he looked the best, and the stuff he was doing, it was like, you couldn't even believe it. You couldn't fathom it. Because, back then it was like, people all kind of did the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He could kickflip and shifty it.
Oh.
Okay, in 87, 88, people were having a hard time
Just
kickflipping.
Yeah.
Right.
He could kickflip backside 180 and land and pivot around.
Right.
Wow.
Who's doing that in 87, 88? Who?
Right.
Like freestylers, maybe.
I mean, not even them, probably. I mean, gnarly. And then
he moved from where?
he came from Cali, and he
Okay,
was
so
and he had barely been out here.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, he looked great though.
Wow.
And it was like, it was always something with him. You're skating a quarter pipe. 87, 88 is like, you have to be there to understand it, but it's like, what are people doing on quarter pipes? He's a guy, you're like skating this quarter pipe, and out of nowhere, he did 270 ollie and land an axle.
Wow.
He was like, that's
Meanwhile,
gnarly.
everyone else is doing like a layback, whatever.
Who are you seeing? People aren't doing that.
Yeah.
They're not exposing it on a video or anything. And then all the weird little no complies and stuff that he could do, you were just like, dude, I've never, I was like, I've never seen anything like that.
Wow.
The no complies he did then, there's two of them that he did, and they're the coolest ones you've ever seen, but people don't do them now.
No.
But when they see them, if you see them right now, he'd be whoever gets that one is an Instagram
It's gonna
sensation.
be viral. It's gonna go viral.
It
after that,
looks
yeah.
so damn cool.
What was it?
He would do the no comply and it would varial, but when he landed on it, he could pivot either way.
Oh, wow.
But he could also just roll it back. He could roll backwards with it for a long time and then turn around.
Wow.
People weren't doing that. They could shifty it, but it was like they could drag it when they shifted it back. You know what I mean?
I don't do no complies that much. I
No,
don't really
I'm not
know.
a big no complier.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
you got to understand. Back then, it's like who had the control to step off a no comply, land and roll backwards,
Right.
and
Yeah.
roll backwards,
Yeah.
and then turn. It was like most people would shifty it, but they would be dragging the front wheel
Yeah.
across the ground as
Yeah.
soon as they put the foot on it.
Wow.
When people ask me about that, who's one of the best, and it's like they're like, oh, I'm from New Deal, but that's like. I love the guy to death. New Deal is like Robert Parrish playing for the Bulls.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he's like, it's not even in the same ballpark. It's like, you didn't catch him, dude. Like, you had to get him then.
Right.
And I think only the guys in Louisiana got him. You have to
Oh,
understand when
yeah.
he quit skating for a while.
Okay.
And then he rode for New Deal. He quit for a long time.
Right.
And he got a little heavier and all that. But I'm telling you, when he was, I never seen anything like that
Oh.
in 87.
So you guys became fast friends and skated all
Yeah.
the time together?
It was like me, Charlie, these two dudes, the Flower Brothers. We skated a lot.
How loose were
Skated-
Charlie's trucks?
They were pretty loose.
So I bet skating with Chris Fissel and all that stuff really improved your skating. Like you were learning probably so much shit from him, right?
Like when I kickflip shifty, I do it in videos,
Yeah.
right? That's him.
Right.
I learned Danforth moves. I learned Oster's moves. I learned Hosoi Street moves. I know what he do after he do a no comply. I like all of that. I was just nerded out and fascinated. So it's like, a crail. You can get on a wall and grab crail and come off. That's Eric D. You could rail slide and grab it mute. That's Nodis, and then it's like, my trick, if I go up on a quarter pipe, I'm like, I'll grab a 270, slam it to axle. That's like Danforth, So it's like everything.
Yeah.
You know, like Ken McGuire, a hospital. I'm like, cool, I'm not going to do that. But if I did, I'm like, that's who does them.
What is that?
You know,
What is that?
A hospital, which would probably be a huge Instagram
Okay.
sensation.
Another one, right?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. It was like
what was it?
I didn't like it at all. It was
No.
Ken, I know who did it. It was Ken McGuire in San Francisco.
Okay.
Put the board upside down. One foot's on the back truck. The other one's on the
Your foot's getting crushed by your board.
Yeah, it's under the board. And then he pulls it up. And as it goes up, then he jumps on top of it.
Why the fuck is it called hospital?
Because it probably hurt like
Broke your fucking
It'll
toe.
break your foot.
Right,
Yeah.
and it was dangerous.
Yeah.
Charlie did them all the time. Yeah.
Right. Definitely like a freestyle move, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
kinda.
Yeah. But seeing all this stuff, you could have. Now you're thinking like, I could do this, right?
Well, I was in Louisiana, and my thing
you're-
was like, I was like, dude, I want to go to Cali, man. I was like,
Yeah.
you know, wouldn't it be cool to skate with 2 or 3 people? As of like, you know, I was like, I gotta go see what the hell, like the Sadlands, and I gotta go skate all that, man. Like I got to. And at this point in time, I'm having so much fun on the street, and I'm so far removed from ramps. I don't even. There just ain't any of them around where I'm at, you know. And it's like, I don't even, you know. It's like I'm a little disconnected from ramps because there just aren't any, and there's no one that's gonna ride them, and nobody's gonna build them. So I'm looking at all this street stuff, you know. And then I remember at that 88 amateur finals, they play like a 8th Street video. It's a premiere kind of where they show. Yeah, and I was like, oh my, that was when I was just blown away. Look, I'm in Louisiana, so keep in mind that ledges do not slide.
Okay.
No one's figured out to slide across them.
Right.
And they're, okay, well, where are they? And then what do you put on them to do that? And then it's like, well, where's someone getting the idea to slide it? Like, I remember watching it, trying to take so much in, because that's one of the first times you look at a video. You saw it when it came out, and you're looking at it, you're like, there's a lot of things you don't remember. And you're like, dude, I want to learn all that. What was that? Like, what?
Especially at a premiere.
You watch it over and over again.
Yeah, so that's one of the first ones. That's why I felt that's a really important street video for that reason, because you look at it and you're like, dude, what? And there's a million tricks for you to learn. Yeah, right.
But the cool thing about, I think, Shock Me Not, that was kind of like a almost like a DIY style video.
Yeah,
like,
it was
where you had Powell videos coming out that were so polished, and all of a sudden, like, here are these dudes with a handy cam.
It's done with a 7-Eleven surveillance camera.
Yeah.
It's ripped off the wall. It's like skate at night with a flashlight. Only get his ankle.
Yeah.
It's like crazy, the production value. It's like
you're lining up spots with your headlights.
But that made it rad, though, right?
Because it was more about the trick,
right,
and nothing else. Yeah. And it's like it's like a very bad and one mixtape, which is already filmed with a 7-Eleven surveillance camera. So you're just like, screw whoever filmed it, whoever filmed it, turn it in.
Yeah,
you know, it's like half of it's probably transferred from like a Betamax cam. It's just like terrible footage.
They're just sending the tapes.
The worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw that video, I was telling Charlie, you know, I was calling him on the phone, and like I was like, I don't understand. They're sliding these things like a ramp, dude, like a sliding a ledge, but then they come back in. I like doing a lip slide on stuff, but then they come back in, dude.
Charlie was like, what are you smoking out there?
And then I was like, and it's crazy, like, just dude jumps the ladder. I'm like, I'm telling you, I was like, you know, I was so psyched on it. I was like, it's like 12 feet for sure. Because I was just so shocked. I'm like, no, dude, it's like a 12-foot ladder. And then his buddy comes out and he's jumping. They're crazy. I'm telling you, dude, I've never seen anything like this, dude.
Right.
You got to watch this thing. I'm telling you.
Wow.
And the dude that comes out in the beginning, is Hensley guy. He's doing it. I don't even know what he's doing, dude. It's crazy.
Wow.
You know, so that one was shocking to me, you know.
So did you feel like you had to go out to California at that time? Or
well, I wanted to so bad because I was like, you know, have you ever gone to Coachella? And then when it's time to leave, you're like, oh, you got this feeling where you're like, man, it's like you know, it's like you're so high on life, and then all of a sudden you're leaving, and it feels weird that you're leaving. Atiba, he was at one, and he's like, yeah, I've got the Coachella blues now. Like,
that was a good time.
I know, good festivals do that. You know, you just leave, and everything feels weird.
I've never been to a Coachella before.
Bro, are you high on life or something else?
No, I wasn't doing the EDM tent. It was like I didn't buy the ticket. Someone gave me like the best ticket in the world, and I went. It was like a cool Coachella. It was like Queens of the Stone Age, MGMT. It was like a cool one, dude.
Right.
You know, like a very Roxy music. You know, Brian Ferry over there. It was like it wasn't like, oh, here's Skrillex. Like, oh, I that hurt me when I had to leave and not see. No, it was not that, dude. It was like rad bands, and you're just you're like having the time of your life, you know, and then all of a sudden you have to leave.
Get yanked out of there.
So it felt like that, you know. I was like, man, you know, because
I'm always wearing off.
Also, it's like Felix, all the East Coast, Billy Wallman, Dune, everybody. Look, I'm seeing everybody from everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere, every part of the thing. Now I got to go home by myself, you know, to no man's land.
Right.
So I'm like, dude, I want to go.
Chris
California.
Fissel, though, your buddy, no? He was
stopped. He had stopped. He was disappeared, kind of from at that point.
So,
and I was like, dude,
you were alone.
I was like, I've really got to like
figure this out.
I just want to go there.
Right.
That was my thought. I was like, I want to go there. I was like, so I had saved up like.
Did you take the bus to California?
This is a rad story. So I had a friend who was like an hour away, and he was a compulsive liar. And he's like, dude. He said, my friend and his mom, who I knew from contests, he's like, they're driving out there. They're driving out there in like a couple of days. So I was like, cool, I get a ride? He's of course. So I show up there, and they're not driving out there.
No.
He's trying to con them in to driving out there. And he's like, look, he's like telling the mom, he's like, you can go out there. He's like, yeah, I can't even find no damn work out here. He's like, dude, nobody even wants to work out there. He's like, it's a joke. You can just go in there and get a job wherever because nobody will take it. And he's like, he's the best at what he does, you know. And he's like, dude, no one will take it. You just got to go.
Right.
And he talks them into driving. It took like a week and a half. I was like, dude.
And the mom drove.
They decided to move. We all
they moved.
Shit.
He's good. He's good.
Wow. Not only was he a liar, he's a con man.
Yeah.
So it's like me, this one guy. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's, what he did.
For
you know?
sure.
It's
Right,
like, so it's me, the one dude, the mom,
right,
her son, who's about our age, and then her younger son, who's maybe like 3.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we jump in this VW van with a U-Haul thing strapped to it.
Oh, my God.
And we're just driving to California. Where? I don't know. I know I met a guy named Jonah Miller, and he was like, dude, you come out, stay at my house. When I was at when I was in the amateur finals, I met him. He's like, just come stay at my house, dude. He lived with his parents. So I was like, it wasn't going to quite work out when I got there the way, you know. So I'm like driving, and we're driving. Where are we going to go? Where are we going? We're going to California. It's a big place. So the first place we go to is like Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And then it's just like, yeah, dude, the con man walks in. Look,
the con man.
How's this? We drive there.
Yeah.
He drives to Huntington Beach, goes to an apartment complex. We got the lease.
What?
Yeah, he's like, we just drive to some random apartment. It was on Slater, behind a Pizza Hut. People were like, oh, dude, you living in the Slater slums? That's where, in Slater, on Huntington Beach, he goes there and he figures out how to rent an apartment.
With his mom and everything and all that?
No, the mom and the other kid were not the ones who got it. The con man walked in there.
Right.
Did some song and dance, and they rented it to him. It took us like 2 hours. We drove straight to Huntington. We drove straight.
Was the mom waiting in the car? Like, I hope we get this place. Like, how do?
Yeah, he's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. So we drive, and you see like the big now renting sign, and he's like, does it? You know? And okay, so then we're in there.
Okay.
And this is where it gets interesting, you know.
I thought it was already pretty interesting. Yeah.
It gets really interesting because we're in there, right?
Okay.
We're living there. I think the mom and the other kids figured out it wasn't working all that well. I didn't give a shit. I was running through my money fast, but because I was eating at Taco Bell and shit every day.
Right.
So the mom and the son are there. The con man, I felt like I could have moved out, but I didn't want to leave him hanging.
Okay.
I felt like the other guy was like, you just stay at my house. And I was like, no, I can't do that to these people.
Right.
So I'm a good-hearted dude.
Yeah.
And so one day, the dude, the con man, is gone.
Oh.
He's like living with these other kids that we met there. And I was like, God, what a dick move. Here I am. Like, I could have moved out. Whatever. So then.
Now you're squatting?
The mom. No, the mom and the other son are still there. But I think she just figured out, like, she wasn't going to just walk in somewhere and start working and pay this. You know, it's more expensive than Louisiana.
Right.
So maybe like the third day I wake up and they're gone.
This is 3
way.
days.
Yeah, they're
in the apartment. 3 days.
This is about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because in the meantime, we're driving around skating the Sadlands.
Okay. You're having a good time.
Yeah, and then people are like, yo, you should go to H ramp. I'll see if I get you in. And then I'm skating these ramps and stuff. And I remember I tore my knee and I had stitches in it, and I was like, oh man, like the worst thing ever, And I'm skating pavilions, which is a spot where it's like Templeton and Vallely show up all the time at night, and it's like, oh, this is insane. And the only person that would skate with me that was nice enough back then was like Lester Kasai's cousin, Terrence. So I skate with Terrence and this girl and Seisha. That's who I skate with mostly. Two girls and Terrence, right? I had like a mountain bike, and that's how I was getting around. I went to Grimmick Skates for 2 seconds, and then someone stole my bike.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, and that's like right. I remember because I had a photo shoot with might have been like Christian Klein or something. Remember him? He shooting
Power
for Power
Edge.
Edge. Yeah, I had a photo shoot, and I was like, dude, okay, whatever, And then I'm going to this ramp, right? I'm gonna go to Scooter's ramp. Scooter saves me with his parents. I go to Scooter's, and at Scooter's house is Felix. And I was like, oh, man, I remember you from the thing. He's like, yeah, he's cool, you know? I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just hanging out with Scooter. Scooter, like, had that refrigerator when you opened it. You're like, dude, everything's in here.
He's got
holy shit.
Sunny D.
Yeah, it's like,
every
it's like every type of deli meat, cheese. It's like, dude, there's a turkey. It's not a holiday, but there's a fucking turkey in there. You're like, dude, what in the fuck? You can't even go. You can't eat all this. Like, take whatever you want.
Wow.
They don't care, and then the parent, you're usually weirded out by the parents are like, yeah, take anything. We're not gonna eat all that. His mom's nice, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, tell Felix, I'm like, I'm staying with these people. The one guy took off, he's staying somewhere. The other guy, they just left. I go, I guess I don't know. The thing's probably got like 2 more weeks on it. Scooter will stay here. He's like, why don't you stay here?
Wow.
He's like, my mom doesn't care. He's all, Mom, can Sal stay here? I'm like, dude, what are you doing? She's like, yeah, sure. And he goes to school.
Okay.
And the parents leave, and I'm just at the house.
Solo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, sleep in, dude. Eat what do you want? Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, dude, I owe you my life. I tell him all the time, I owe you my life, man. That was the coolest thing ever. I tell his mom all the time, I was like, that was Louisiana.
Wow.
That is the hospitality that you usually
You still
get
know
there.
them.
Oh, all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, I
keep in contact.
I don't forget people. It was interesting because it just so happened that all of my buddies from Houston were in town. Mm-hmm. Nielsen, Roach, everybody was in town filming or doing something with 8th Street. These were all guys that were riding for 8th Street.
Okay.
So they were telling they were working their way around filming, and they were telling Mike Ternasky, they were like, dude, you got to check out my friend. He's like, why does it sound familiar? He's like, I swear I've met your friend. I think
He's talking about you.
From 88 AM Finals.
Oh.
88 AM Finals, I was there. I had met Ternasky, and he was the guy, he's walking around with this planner, like getting names and checking people out. And I was like, wow, who's this guy? And I was like, oh, gnarly. He's the guy that does that team with that video, and he's talking to some of them gnarly dudes that were in that thing.
Right.
So he introduced himself. I don't remember talking to him or discussing anything. And then he's like, he ended up coming to Scooters, and he's like, yes, I have met you. This is the guy I have met. I know this guy. Yeah. He's like, what are you doing out here? And I said, I'm getting ready to go home because everyone bailed out on me, and now I'm staying at this guy's couch.
Scooter's house, yeah.
And he's like, well, look, man. He's like, I'm filming another video. He's like, that's what I'm doing. He's like, you don't have to be anywhere or with anyone or with anything. He's like, why don't you just come on the trip with me?
Wow.
That was how I filmed my Hocus Pocus. That's how I met. That's how I met all my heroes from Shackle Not. It was like I go under the wing of Ternasky, and he's like, all right. So I go to H Street. The house is like by Willie Santos and Donger and John Reeves and all these guys.
Okay.
They're in Scripps Ranch. School W is in Scripps Ranch. So I go there, and I'm staying at the house, right?
Right.
Then he's like, okay, we're going to take the trip. First, we're going to go up to Vista. So when I go up to Vista, it's like, oh, holy shit, it's Brendan Schaffel, it's Steve Ortega, it's Matt Hensley, it's Mario Rubalcaba. I get to meet all those people and just go skate with them. And then I turn around and I keep driving up the coast, and then it's like, oh wow, there's like Noah Selaznick and Aaron Vincent and Jeff Pettit and Ray Simmons and Jeff Clint and Ron Allen.
Were you just like starstruck this whole time? Where you're like, what the fuck is this?
Ultimately, because it was
finally there's people to skate with.
But I mean, that's true too.
Well, it's like I had been so lonely that my friends, my only friends in skating were the guys that I looked at on the TV screen.
Okay, right.
Okay, and I was expecting to come out here for a little bit, skate, and then go back and go to college.
And all these fucking great things are happening.
Yeah. And that was insane because then I'm meeting all these people. And then Mike was cool, and he's like, yeah, dude, and then we're going to go skate with Nadas in Santa Monica. And then it was like holy shit. Like, I'm skating with Nadas in Santa Monica. So it was like, he was a very personable guy. So he was always like, he was such a fan of skating. He was always like, he liked everybody, but he's always trying to skate with everybody or go around where people were. So he's like,
just connecting.
So I just took that trip, and that's how I filmed that. And then it was like cool because it was like, he was like, look, man, he's like, you're going to film this thing, and then I'm going to do some stuff with it, and then I'll fly you home, and then I could fly you back out. And then you go on this premiere and stuff, and then he's like, I'm telling you, you're not going to have to go do all those, try to get those jobs you're trying to get. He's like, you're not going to have to get one, dude. I didn't know what he was talking about, and I was like, I was just like,
a plan for you?
Yeah, I was just jazzed to like, holy shit, I'm skating. That was the
goal.
Coolest thing ever. But
so
then
when he was taking you around, was he giving you 8 street boards?
Yeah, he when he met me at Scooters, he's like, all right, we'll put you on the team. Oh. He's like, first of all, he's like, second of all, you don't live anywhere. You're not doing anything. Why don't you take a trip with me and film? Let's go film.
Right.
So I went out and I filmed with him. And then the coolest thing ever was when I went back home, I'm at home, and then he's like, all right, I'll fly you back out. When he flew me back out, it was to go on premieres. And that's when hardcore skate shops existed, or they were abundant,
right.
So how cool was that? I'm going everywhere with this video, and then right after that video, no one wants to go do demos, but I'm a freaking skate rat. So I'm like, dude, I'll take every one of them.
Right.
Because, Hensley is like, they've done the thing once. They've got a girlfriend.
Okay.
Ron Allen's older. He's got a girlfriend.
Right.
I'm just like the dude that's like, oh, you mean I can go to Florida and someone will give me like $500? Are you kidding? Like, dude, let's go.
Right.
So I went everywhere. So it was like unbelievable.
But I mean, like when this video came out, I mean, were you just like, were you blown away being a part of that? Or like, how did it compute? Did it register? Like, how?
See, when they made it, I'm just skating. He's filming me.
Right.
I'm not trying to dress up cool and be like, dude, do some slow-mo music. And I'm just like, fuck, I'm like, dude, I go put on some skate rags or whatever the fuck is in my bag in the 80s. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump down some shit and some nasty fucking clothes. Whatever.
Right.
That's everyone. Right. You're just skating. You've seen all the MB shit. It's like, everybody looks fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody looks, you're just skating. So I'm just skating. And the thing back then was like, most people that just skated a lot and wanted to skate, it was like, turn the fucking camera off. You remember people used to have that breakdown where it's like, dude, why are you filming every fucking thing? Like, right. I'm just trying to do that goofy shit, and you want to turn it on, turn it off.
Wow.
Like, so it was like, I wasn't so much like that.
iPhone.
I was like, I didn't care. I just didn't care. I wasn't trying
to skate.
Yeah, a lot of times I wasn't trying to do it twice. I wasn't going to go back. I was just skating. And so when he made the video and he did it, I wasn't sitting in the editing room like, do that, change this, change that. I was like, I called me in for some voiceover shit that I didn't rehearse clearly. I just say some shit real quick.
Was that the name?
Yeah. So all that, I was like, whatever you want to do, I don't care. You know, and then, going on the trips after, I didn't really think about it. I was just thinking about like, I want to go skate, and I can go to Florida, and I can go to Chicago, and I can go. I was going all over the place.
I think the first time I saw you in a demo was like 1990, 91, and it was you and Mike V skating in a mini ramp in a mall.
That is my first pro demo ever. It was in Boston, Beacon Hill. Yep. I'll never forget that demo.
Well, the Beacon Hill one, and then like there's I think the mall was in Burlington.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, I had a blank board.
Yep. You said you were pro though. You were pro
I just
at that time?
turned pro. That was a prototype, and I had a history with Mike because he would would choose him to demo at every demonstration that we could
What
get.
do you mean you would choose him?
The shop in Lafayette, Surf and Skate, had a real cool owner, Miss Donna. She'd be like, okay, Charlie and Sal, pick the guy that you want to come to the demo. I'll pay for one guy each year.
Oh,
you know, you could pay a pro every year. We're like, Mike Vallely.
Really?
So I had, you know, it was kind of special to me because I had brought him out and, you know, seen him that whole time. And then the first time I do something, I was like, oh, this is rad, dude. I'm going to a mall with a mini ramp in it. And it's like, you know, Beacon Hill set it up, and I'm flying out there, and I'm going to meet that guy to skate. I was like, that's really cool, man.
Were people recognizing you from the H Street video and stuff?
I remember it was Jamal, Rob, and Jimmy. I remember all the people there.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, like fans, were people like recognizing, like, oh shit.
That video had probably just come out, if anything.
I feel like Rubber Sheep came out, and like Hocus Pocus came out pretty much around the same time.
That video had just come out, so it was like, I think people were seeing. They probably didn't know what it was.
Okay, Raj, did you get his autograph at the demo?
I probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would remember something like that. I mean,
I think I just had him sign my shirt, and then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that shirt.
He still got the shirt.
Yeah.
For sure,
He just doesn't want to say it. He can talk about it when I leave. I mean,
right. It's probably under his bed.
I heard it was taken to some place and framed, and you know.
Did you go from H Street to Plan B? Like when Ternasky left, and did you go with them, or how did that work out?
I was a guy having a breakdown pre-Plan B.
Oh.
And I was like, man, dude, you know, like you know, I'm not a bad guy, but I was like, dude, you have like, you don't ever say no to anyone. That was my thing. I was like, you have like 900 people.
Right, on the team.
I'm like, and you're looking for 900 more. I'm like, you don't slow down.
Right.
I was like, don't eat it. I go, and then the way you get them, you're like, they're almost like supposed to be some sort of replacement thing. And I go, I have no problem with that. I go, just get someone that, you know, if you get somebody that's good enough, then so be it. I'm like, but you grab, like, you got too many.
You're just throwing shit at the wall.
So you were getting bummed.
I wasn't bummed, but I said, you know, I didn't understand. I didn't understand adding a lot of people and filming and getting more people in filming, and I was because I you can't brand stuff that way.
Yeah,
you know, and my
plus
thing,
everybody gets lost in the mix too, right?
I mean, my whole thing too was like when you have a guy like Hensley, I'm like I wouldn't be replacing him. You know, I'd be like, I always envy like a Santa Cruz formula or something where it's just like they got their guys and they're like, oh, those are the guys we got, and we chose these guys.
Right.
Yeah. And then in it, later, Santa Cruz started getting a little 90s street, whacked out everybody and made them be like, okay, screw everybody, get new guys and get whoever.
Right, okay.
That's kind of what 90s did.
Patcher.
Yeah. And I never liked that because I was just always like, well, why? I don't know. These guys just seem like they had more than that. Yeah. And I was like, why? I don't understand why you do that, you know? So in the interim of like them setting up, you know, Plan B, I was like, I was talking to, you know, I was talking to Debo, I was talking to Rocco. You know,
you were
like,
actually trying to, were you trying to get on, you were trying to get out of.
Yeah, I was like, man, I just like real, like, I was like, that's cool, you know? Like, I was like, they have boards and then dudes have them. And they have them for a while, and then it's like when they bring somebody else on, they find them, and it takes a while.
Yeah.
And you know, that, and then I was like, you know, I liked all the stuff Steve made. I was like, dude, and then I was looking at that. I was like, those graphics are cool.
Right. You
don't even have to tell them what to make. They don't have lecture set. They'll just whip up some shit. I was like, the product's cool.
Yeah.
And I liked everybody, and I liked the way you did shit. And I was like, that's cool. But obviously, Mike and Steve talk all the time.
Right.
So he went back and told him, which I didn't care anyway, but he went back and told him. So when
he told
Mike
that you were
talking to him.
Yeah. Wow.
So when he did it, it was like he was going to punish me for a brief period.
What was
the punishment? Was like, we're all gone, and he didn't ask me. Right?
Oh, wow.
And he came back, and you know, he came back and he's like, yeah, dude, come on, man. It just bummed me out that you were shopping around.
Right.
I kept telling you to chill out, that I was going to take her.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know idea what you were doing.
Right.
What you were about to get into.
For sure.
You know, so.
For
You
sure.
could never guess that. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Well, I don't feel bad about it. It just wasn't a big deal. I didn't
Right.
hate him or wasn't mad. I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to.
You just put the feelers out there.
I'm just the
Yeah.
type of guy that's like, if I'm only going to ride for what I like
Believe
to ride
in.
for.
And, yeah.
I didn't dislike it, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's a little different than the way I would do stuff.
How long after did you get on Plan B?
It was like one contest I went to,
Oh.
you know.
So like maybe because they started Plan B
It
without
felt like
you.
about a month or two.
Month or two?
A
That's
month
not-
or two. That's
okay.
about it. You know, I went to one contest and I was skating really good there.
Yeah.
He wasn't there, but he was asking me. He's like, "Yeah, I heard you ripping at that thing, and come on, dude." You know, it was like after, you know, he was like, hey, we held him out long enough.
Yeah.
I think he's like, you know.
And then so right when you got on, you started filming for Questionable?
Yes.
Yeah. How did that
right
go?
back in. I tore ligaments in my ankle.
Oh, you did?
On that thing, yeah.
Oh.
That was what was really hard about that one. If you've ever torn, I've never gotten hurt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I had torn them, and if you tear them, it's weird because it doesn't look like anything happened.
Right.
At all.
Right.
But then you can't, it's hard to do anything.
Yeah.
You can't jump or anything. So the only thing I could do was attempt to learn how to surf, meaning I'm standing. I'm not turning.
Right.
So I was surfing a lot. I remember Jason Rogers was like, "Oh, you do surf?" I'm like, "Dude, I can't move. You can surf, you can skate." Like
Right,
I'm just
right.
like, I like could not move. I couldn't do anything. I would try to skate, and then you know, it was like I'd have it all wrapped up and thinking I could do something. I'm like, you know, it's like, you know how weird it feels when you hurt your ankle and you can't
Yeah.
kick flip, and you're like, I can't believe this.
Yeah,
Right,
This is
right.
Like I can't do anything.
But you
Will
had
I
no-
be able to do it again? Because it just seems like so
Far
But
off
this
from
was
the-
like some torn ligaments,
Right.
and it was on the back, and I was like, dude, I can't get up that curb.
You had no physical therapy or any of that shit?
I went and
Little
saw
bit?
someone, and the way
Okay.
they're like, well, you tore it, you can't go
Right.
inside and put it back. You got to lay off of it for a while and then do this after. You know,
Gotcha.
so
Right.
it was a weird thing. So I just remember like surfing, doing all this stuff, and I remember the way that I like to skate. What I would have. This is the thing. Have you ever seen the footage when I'm skating Eden Garden, and it's not really in a video, but it's like it's in a bit of clips of like not the new 8th Street video. Have you seen that?
I think so.
I'm like, you know, 360 flipping off the what do they call it? Tray flip now?
Yeah, the yeah.
It's like a tray flip off the tall part, you know,
Okay.
and it's like some lines thrown in there, and it's
Okay.
like hand flip and all this stuff off tall stuff, right?
Would you call it a hand flip?
hand flip?
Sal flip?
Yeah,
you mean?
you said.
Sal flip, yeah. You don't call it that?
So what I'm getting at is like the way I was looking at skating was I was like, all right, you know, I like to, you know, what I was trying to polish and perfect outside of my outfit, you know, like I was like, dude, I want to like, you know, whatever I do, I want to do it down something as big and as clean as I can. Now I care. Now I'm like trying to not, you know, now I'm like, I'm going to do it like I do everything powerful, you know, and good. I'm going to do it. That'll be and new. I have new tricks. So I'm going to, you know, that's what I wanted to do. But as we start filming, you know, by the time I come around in that short window, it was like all these pressure flips and all this weird stuff, like where the board is like stays
Bouncing
on
up
the
and down,
ground and
yeah.
you're way up in the air, and I'm like, what the F is this, man?
Right.
You know, and it was like the things that right when I came back, it's like you know, Mike, the way he looked at it was like, he's like looking at me like I'm out of it, because I just wanted to, I remember the first thing I looked at was like it was just like it came over this thing, and then there's a cinder wall, and it dropped down. I was like, I'm going to kickflip that. And he's like, you know, it was really tall. He's like, we're not really filming that type of thing.
Really?
You know, that's cool. I was
Okay.
like,
Was that for virtual?
I think that is, no. I think it's, no. It's for,
For questionable.
it's questionable. You know, and I'm just like, dude, I was like, all right. You know, so that whole thing, I just felt like, it's a deadline, but I got a short one because I'm coming off that injury.
Right.
You know, the way I want to film, that's the first time I really started hating filmers. Because that's the first time it's like, you know.
You're conforming to what they want. Right?
Well,
in a way.
it's like this. You know, if I want to go and nollie flip something back then or whatever, it's like, well, it's because it's like, well, now I have it. And to me personally, this is the best I could do it, and it'll be real high, and it's like I got 110%. Dude, did you see what little John did down this thing? It's like, yeah, this is fucking gross. So I don't give a fuck if he kickflipped it and then body varied, you shithead.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not trying to. That's nasty. It's like, that's why you fucking don't skate.
Right,
I was like, because you would look at that and to be telling me that, dude. So I was getting into. I felt like that, and I felt like a lot of times, you know, that they weren't. I'd be filming with people, and I'm like, I came from filming with Dan Sturt.
Yeah.
So I liked filming with him because he'd be like, what are you going to do? And he'd be like,
Can you die?
He's like, you know, it was cool. I respected him. He's like, roll off the roof into the ramp.
Right.
And I was like, for you, I'll do it twice.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
You know, he's like, yeah, fucking gnarly. He's like, don't waste my time with that bullshit. And I'm like, exactly. I'm on your fucking page. Let's go, dude.
Right.
Because it was, you know, I liked it.
Yeah.
But then, then the turn to have the opposite of that, and it wasn't Mike, but let's just say Dan's a gnarly fucking man.
Right.
You know, he's gnarly. He tried to loop, you know?
Yeah.
And
You
shot the
turn
photo
around.
while doing it.
Yeah, you turn around and then you get some weird little feminine filmer that I like to drop kick. That's like, dude, did you see what little Michael did here? It's like, what the fuck?
Was that Sloshbach?
Like, no, I love him to death. Sloshbach is in the middle. He's like, if you skated from the car up to here, you'd be like, I got it, Kelly. And you'd be like, what? He's like, no, that was a good line. And you're like, turn the thing off, dude. Like, that's where that got invented from, was like, dude, quit filming me.
Right,
That's
okay.
Rick, Mike, and Sheffy telling Sloshbach, dude, turn the fucking thing off.
Right.
Like, quit filming me. He like film everything. No, I'm just checking the camera. Like, I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm just making sure the camera works. And it's like, dude, Sheffy just like having a meltdown. Like, I know you're fucking using it. He's like, I know, turn it the fuck off. He's like, I'm just like checking. You know, he's the nicest guy. Like, he's like, no, Chef, Sean, I'm not gonna do nothing with it. Was going off on me. He's like, no, I'm just, no, I'm not gonna do nothing with
And
it.
then turn the other cheek comes out.
Yeah, see, he has a lot of that type of stuff in it, but that's why I like those videos. I'm like, yeah, I like all that weird, wacky shit.
Right.
It's like great, you know. It looks like some Instagram of today, a bunch of weird, wacky shit.
Right.
A lot of it being slow and confused and fucked up. But Sloshbach is a damn genius. Had there been Instagram, he would be.
He'd have 1 million followers.
So that one, what I was saying was like, I just felt like, man, let me get it over with so I can go skate. Like, this shit is like bothering me. Let me go back to that. They had weird rules in mini ramps weird rules on things back then where it's like, you know, something on wood doesn't count, and you don't want to do that. And you don't want to put that in there. If you do something on a mini ramp, you don't put that in your regular thing.
But didn't you have park footage in your questionable part?
I probably did, but that's what I'm saying, like, because I probably had a lack of footage or something, but it was like weird to people, and they were like, that was probably like in the special section where wood belongs, you know, because they had weird
section,
I was always like, man, I want to, my thing was like, I like Julian, I like finding weird shit, like I would, you know, I was like, look how tight this thing is. If you fly up here and get an axle on this thing, it's like, they're not making that type of thing. I'm like, I like Neil Blender, Julian Stranger looking shit.
Right.
I was like, it looks great when you film it right.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, that was the gift and a curse being on those teams. Like, the curse was like, you're going to have to do the shit that nobody's done. Try to do some new shit.
Right.
Try to do some brand new shit every time.
Do you think Rodney had a lot of influence in that?
No, that was just the way they always try to film, and that was the problem. It was like, you know, like you go from one video to the next, and half the people are off the thing because they're just trying to get a crop of newer shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's why it looks, you know, maybe the other way, it's like some of those videos, everybody made different videos. That's what was cool. Now they all probably do the same format, but back then it was like, well, it was cool when you saw like some of the other companies, because their focus was more like, well, we'll just polish it.
Okay.
It makes it a different video.
Yeah,
I'm not saying either one of them are right or wrong, but it's like, oh, cool. They're taking things and worrying about how cool they can make it look. And then on the other side, some people are like trying to put all new, crazy, hardest thing you never seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
It's safe to say you didn't like your questionable part or experience?
I haven't really never looked at videos that I was in. I don't really care to. I don't really care to. You know what I mean? I was more like, the most I looked at them was probably when I was at the premiere or something, you know, but I
go back and watch your...
I wasn't in the at the questionable premiere. I sat out front. I was kind of like, no, I was at the other one. That's right. It was the other one. Because it had like some fucking retirement thing, and I was like, dude, like, okay, well, retire me so I can go fucking skate. You know, it was like just.
Wait. Which one did
in virtual?
Virtual.
I didn't go in that premiere.
No.
I was sitting in front. I was like, I don't go in there. I was fucking.
Really?
Like,
Mike was talking about how like it kind of bummed him out when like they're just kind of like retiring dudes for no good reason, like Matt and.
Well, the whole thing became like, who the fuck is next?
Why were they retiring people?
Because it goes back to everything I was talking about. You're making that type of video. You see what I'm saying? You're always trying to put the newest, most cutting edge thing, and then in the second video, half the people in the first one aren't there.
Right.
They've dropped off because they're not doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Then in the next one, so they keep doing that. I didn't agree with that because I was like, that was the problem I was talking about earlier. I was like, first time I filmed, it had nothing to do with filming. I was just like, okay, I'm skating and you're taking me around and I'm fucking filming everything. I'm not thinking about it. Second time, it's not too bad. You know, that was the shit that never got used. That was all. That was all the.
Okay.
You'd see little bits of it and stuff, but that was like that I did a lot, and then it never got used because it was in between. It's too good to put in the H Street thing. It's too old to put in the Plan B thing. So it was like a bad thing that happened to what I felt like would have been some very polished, cool looking shit.
Okay.
Should track that footage down.
I know.
I don't.
Throw it on Instagram now. You know.
Big Tan
Whoever
Sturt
has it, but he gets rid of everything. But
Oh shit.
But that's what I was telling you is like it became very hard for that reason. Is like, okay, the third time, then, you know, well, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing that? You know, like you're getting real. I gotta go do it. I gotta get it. My whole thing was like, nah, fuck that. I'm trying to go ride a freaking ramp because I can't ride them that well, so I'm gonna go do that.
Right.
You know, but it's like, no, you can't do that right now because you gotta work. I'm like, nah, dude, it shouldn't be that. It should be like you're doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought it should be. And I was like, that's what it seemed like on Reel and a couple other places where I was grabbing.
I just went and skated.
Where I was trying to, you know, I was like, that team seems cool. I was like, if I didn't like it for any reason, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be a speed metal wizard on a guitar. I'd be sitting in my room dedicating all my time to that. But I was like, you know, that whole thing got odd to me because I was like, God, dude, like, can we get done with that so I can go ride? Can I go skate? Are we done with that shit? You know, it's like horrible. Because I always thought the way that you take a picture was like the way that I first filmed, where it was like, you've learned some stuff and you can do it all the time. Whatever you're doing, you can do it more than once.
Right.
And then someone says, let's go take a picture of that, dude. Now, if you keep doing that the way that was, it's like, why do you think it's so disgusting in the 90s when people are like, half the time they're like, you ever seen them at contests and in videos and footage, they're pissed off, they're focusing boards, they're like, fuck!
Yeah.
They're having a breakdown. It's because they're showing up and they're like, they've never done that before, and they're going to try to do it there, and then they're going to try to film it there, and it's like they're not having much of a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're not, you know, it's not like you jump in a mini ramp or a bowl or cruise down a street course where you can hop over something or flip it or something easy to your level. It feels cool.
Yeah.
But if you take that away and you're barely rolling, you're pushing backwards, and you're going up to some ledge, and it's going to be some really hard thing, and then it's like you can't get into it, and it's just like you're going to do that for like 3 days.
Right.
Some people might be there for a week.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like that from where I come from. You know, I was like, let me do what I do let me go off for 2 years and ride around, and then I'll have learned a bunch of stuff that won't take any time to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll have fun in the process. So that was the thing about the 90s, I thought. And that's why I thought a lot of people, you know, had meltdowns. And you hear a lot of people quit really quick. I ain't going to quit because I come from the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, well, I'm still searching for a ramp. You know, I'm padding up, I'm riding shit, you know, so it's like, it's different. My take on it was different. A lot of people, like, they'd be angry that I was getting nothing out of it. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? But you could see, like, you probably know firsthand, there could be that shit is not, it gets to a point where it's not very fun at all.
Right. It just it becomes the job.
Yeah, and you don't want to do it. You want to go skate.
Of course.
It's bumming you out because you're spending all your time doing that. You're like, I just rather go skate.
You know, you see people jumping out of the car and trying the hardest trick to film it. And you're
Yeah.
like, are you even skating? You're not even warming up. You're not like, are you having fun? Like, I
Well,
don't understand what the, like,
I'll
get the
tell you
camera
what.
out, let's do, you know.
On a street league level, though, it's like
Yeah.
they do jump out the car and do the hardest trick.
Yeah.
Well,
They do warm up on
But-
that though.
I mean, goddamn, but it don't take them no time to do everything.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
So,
right, right.
so I'm not talking about people like that. They're having a blast. They're like,
yeah.
you know.
right. That's that's a handful of, you know.
I thought it was everybody young. I thought they either really, really shitty or really, really good. It's like not too many in the middle these days, right?
Right.
People
Yeah.
are just like, God, the dude does everything.
Fuck yeah.
You don't really see people where you're like, he's getting there.
Right.
You're like, nah.
He's already there.
He's already, right.
Yeah.
Either there or he's not.
Yeah,
Right.
because I, I'm always trying to figure out, I like skating, I'll do it, and I'm like, I like to travel, I like to get some people, I like to work with some people, and I start looking around, and that's what I notice. I'm like, the guy's just there. Anybody you see that's like getting down, it's like, yeah, he rides for this, he rides for that, and it's like, damn, he's good. Or then it's like some dude that just really is terrible.
Right.
Filming with an iPhone, getting mad at the park, like I was telling you. I'm like, dude, he's like, he has no shot in hell. Either it's like the NBA. It's like they're like there's a surplus of great people, and it's just like, is there enough room? Because there's no shortage of great people.
Right.
But there's none that you look at, I just don't see them, where it's like, that guy's going to be good. It's like they're already good. And then the ones that I look at, well, it's like either I'm looking at him like, he has no shot in hell.
Right.
That's how they are, right?
You can tell now by if someone can make it, because everyone's good, but it's just how they do it.
Yeah.
And that what I always think I see now is,
And I
like,
think, a lot of it depends on their attitude too. Yeah.
very true. Yeah.
Well, they could have a bad attitude, but still be like.
But the bad attitude people don't really make it that far.
I'm
Yeah.
saying the
Nine
talent.
times. Yeah.
I'm saying like that. Like
pure talent.
I saw some mutant trying to heel flip, and it was like, it was just like, he is not. I felt like just having that talk with him. Son, there's plenty of room in the band for a saxophone or a drum, or like this is not you, and then
right.
But then at the same time,
he's out
it's
there
like,
having fun and.
no, he wasn't, because he was
wasn't.
filming and he was slinging. He's like a 90s times 10. He was like breaking it. He was slinging his board on the bench. He's like cursing. He was crying. I was like, what? If you land that, you should be more angry.
Right.
For that, like what it looked like. But then, at the same time, it's like if I go, I go to certain spots and I'm just checking the kids out, and I'm like, God, I just start asking people like, who is that guy?
Right.
It's like, oh, he used to ride for this, and I'm like, and they cut him.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. I'm like, God. And then someone else will show up, and I'm like, yeah, I see why they cut him. He's really good, but God, the bar's way up there. So it's like, they're good, man. They're really good. And I think it's now, I was telling you, like, we had to drive around, and it's like, I couldn't find a ledge after EG got moved. They took that out. It was like the hardest time.
Parks pop up and I'm like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Kids got a good.
I just trip out. Yeah, you could get. I was just thinking, like, you could get really good if the thing is there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Plus, also now when you know everything's possible.
Yeah.
You could see anything on the internet, or any video that comes out, or it's like. You don't need the imagination to try to think of shit.
Yeah.
So much to their credit. Yeah, they're shockingly all really good.
I'll be, not that I like the tricks, but the kids are doing crazy shit now with the body burials and like sex. I don't even know what, like, have you seen any of that? It's like,
it's interesting in different parts. You get east, and then you get over the west, and then there's like all types of different things, and they seem to all be influenced by their friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of their thing. They're like, I don't really like people that I don't know. Like, my favorite people are my friends.
Yeah.
So that makes it all different and unique. And I think stuff like quarter snacks and things like that makes people, for the first time, say, I just skate where I live. Right?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of cool, because then they're like, I don't need to move.
Yeah.
And then they try to figure their little thing out, scene, and create their own little vibe to it. And I thought that was weird. I'm not weird. I thought that was awesome, because one of the things I hated when I turned professional, I had made this prediction. I was like, I bet by the time I turned professional, this is when I knew I was going to do it. And I was like, I bet by the time I go to the street contest, I won't see Kelly Rosecrans. I won't see Pat Noho. I won't see Ken McGuire. I was like, I won't see all the variety of people that I had been emulating and was psyched because they all didn't do the same thing, and it was all so different and unique, and I loved everyone to like that way. So yeah, lo and behold, by the time I did it, it was the attack of the 90s assholes. And they were none of my, I was like, damn, I want all these guys there. That's what I wanted. I wanted I wanted this, it's like just all unique. And I think that's what's cool is now that you get that, not at all in the contest because they go for one type of person.
Right.
But it's cool. I do think that's cool about different areas because everybody should do whatever the hell they want, and no one should be passing any weird judgment on them. I like the fact that they're like, if they're doing what they're doing and they're not saying stuff about people, that's cool to me. And so I like that you like, who doesn't get stuck on like some oddball dude doing some weirdo shit on Instagram?
Yeah, right. Like you said, skating should just be what you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
You should just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, if people are doing stuff and they're not harming anyone by, passing some judgment. Because when you pass judgment, it's like, I just wish you would stop doing all these weird no complies for me. It's like, knock yourself out, weirdo. Do it all day. It doesn't bother me. But I've always liked the videos that had all the weird oddball shit in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like my favorite video to watch back when it was out was like, I love watching Speed Freaks. Because I'm like, who's this weird dude like in this vest doing slalom in these, and then some other dude will come out that's like, in a Gullwing video, there's like that weird, dude in the vest with the super short denim shorts, like riding that ramp in the barn, doing all these very interesting tricks. And I was like, that's the shit. I keep rewinding. I'm like, look at this dude. Like, I like that. I like, I look at old videos and I watch Chris Bauckham skate and vert. You don't know what that is, but it's like
I'm going to say
fucked up shit.
A lot of people that you've mentioned tonight, I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
I know this is more like.
Trust me, I'm just going like, yep. Wow.
What's the Grosso show?
Love Letters.
This is probably like references that they would get on that show,
right?
Yeah. But my point is, I love watching the variety. I always like that in videos.
Yeah. When you were on Plan B, doing all the video, were you on Etnies at that time too?
Yes, I was.
Yeah?
I rode for Etnies when I rode for H Street.
Oh, when you rode for H Street?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was riding for Airwalk,
Oh, you were? Okay.
And Airwalk always had a bunch of really cool shoes in the sample room. And I'd go in the sample room with Javante, and he's like, man, the heat's in the sample room.
Okay. Okay.
He's like, you got to get that. And he always looks so cool.
Right.
And he would find out. I was like, dude, how does he wear all these this shoe looked like Lieutenant Worf's forehead. It had all these rings. And he just dropped some spray paint on it and put a white lace on. I'm like, how does he look so cool in those fucked up things? You put them on, and you're just like, dude, you feel just like the goofy boy, And I was like, all right. So you take me in the sample room, and every time I was like, God, dude, why don't they make these?
Right.
Like, I got to get a Lieutenant Worf forehead box. Like, send me. I was like, send me the pine green or the bright yellow. I was like, what is going on, dude? I don't know the name, but it was really bothering me. I was like, or then the other one, I was like, this one's super high and has a hubcap on the top. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, what? Why not make the ones in that room, dude? Right. He's like, I know, dude. He's like, I know, it's killing me. Wow. So I was looking at shoes, and I my favorite skaters were like, I was like, Julian looks cool. That was my favorite skater. I was like, he just looks cool as shit and everything. I was like, whatever that motherfucker has is like cool looking. I'm gonna just look cool. So I was like, he has the Vision shoes. Oh, so look, I'm getting those Vision shoes. And I was like, wait. I was like, dude, what? These look cool as fuck. What are they wearing? Yeah. I was like, he's got these black Etnies on. I was like, those are not. I was like, dude, they look cool. Him, Mickey Reyes, and Julian are on tour. Nodis, Mickey Reyes, and Julian, and they're all Nodis. They're under the Nodis wing, and it's like the Nodis SMA clothes and the Nodis black shoes. And I'm like, damn, all black. Yeah, exactly. I don't need pine green and yellow and orange. I was like, dude, what? I was like, I just want to wear those. Yeah. And so I was like, I went to a trade show, and I went to that booth, and I was like, dude, I was skating, like skate rat 24/7, so I was like trying to go skate, And that always killed me back then. I was like, God, dude, you know, so I was buying shoes out of Marshalls or wherever, and I was like, you can't ride them. I was trying to Air Force One or something. The sole's like that.
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
for sure.
Fuck.
Right.
And then the stuff that I could ride, I was like, that looks so ugly. I'm not skating in that. I'm like, I won't go skate today. I'm not putting that lace saver, bright green with the like. I'm like, no, dude. I was like, I can't. I was looking down at that. It bothers me, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I can't do it. So I was like, I have to have those. So I was like, I'll be happy.
Right.
Don't matter. I just go do a disaster or something. I need these.
Right.
So I like go up to the booth and Pierre Andre's there, small. Everybody's downstairs. Mm-hmm. This is when the trade shows were so big they had 3 levels.
Okay.
I remember looking at it, I was like, oh, there they are, dude. I was like, finally. That's the only reason I went in there. I was like, dude, I have to. I wasn't being cocky. I was like, dude, I have to buy these right now to go skate in them.
Right.
I was like, I'll buy them. Can you please sell me these?
Did they know who you were?
No, because Pierre was like, oh, we don't sell them here.
Oh.
And I was like, how do I get them? Like, what's the quickest way? He's like, well, you probably have to check with all these shops or whatever. And then I was like, yeah, you don't have any extra that you could sell. I just pay for them, dude. And he's just like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll try to figure it out. I'll tell my shop. I already sent my shop by here, Pacific Drive. I was like, yeah, I already told him to check them out, and those were cool, and order them and whatever. And then I saw him later that night, and he's like, dude, he's like, I didn't know. Sorry, man, I didn't know like that was you, man. He's like, come back by, dude. He's like, you can, of course, dude.
Right.
He's like, he's like, come by and take a pair, dude.
Okay.
So I took a pair, and then immediately I was like, oh, I love them, but I got to rip cardboard out. You know, back then they had, I liked them because they seemed like they were made at a regular shoe factory, which the downfall to that would be there would be cardboard. And if you ever tried to skate in shell toes or things back in the day, you'd have to take that cardboard out with a vice grip. It took forever because it was glued and stitched. And then once you took it out.
Where was it, though? Where was the cardboard?
The cardboard was underneath.
It was the last of the shoe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It would make it to where you couldn't skate it. So all the early stuff that we were skating, we'd yank the cardboard out. You'd have to because it wouldn't bend. A shell toe back then would not bend. So all the Adidas and stuff, you know, it was like, dude, I have to rip that out. So what I liked about this, the bad side was it had the cardboard in it. The good side was, I was like, I know the shoe's made in a normal shoe factory because it's a normal last. It wasn't puffy. It looked like a normal. He borrowed the design from an Elise, right? But it looked like they made it in the default last that you would get if you didn't go and said, I'm making skate shoes. Oh, bring out the Bozo last. Because they're making, it looked like, no, they're just making shoes. And I was like, and it's from France, right? And I was like, oh, this last is fucking cool.
Wow.
So I ripped the cardboard out.
In front of Pierre Andre.
No. I got it home and did all the alterations, and I ripped it out, and then I was like, oh, white laces. Julian, you know, and I was like just getting it all ready, and I was like, I was like, oh, the bottom, I was like, God, the bottom could be better. I was like, because it's leaving black on my board, and it feels a little bit slippery, right? So the cool progression there was like the relationship turned into where it was like he would give me shoes, and I would just take them, and I'd be like, oh man, you know, the first ones were like, they were the knockdown of the Nodus because Nodus was no longer there, right? So they would look exactly like his, but now they were all suede instead of rubber, and they took panels off, so they didn't have rubber panels and things and Etnies written all over it. And I was like, oh, these are cool because they look like his. And then I just ripped the cardboard out. Had the same type of sole. That's why if you had a red one, your board would be red. If you had a blue one, your board would be blue. If you had a black one, your board would be black. And it was still really hard to bend it. And I felt like I liked the last a lot. I liked the last on that more than anything.
Those are the first wraps, right?
Yeah. Well, they didn't call them wraps then, did they? They were just like,
they did.
They were the, it was a wrap that was a Nodus takedown. Okay. Yeah. So I remember cutting them down. And I had seen Hensley do that to all his airwalks. And these things were so tall that I was like, I was cutting them down and I was taping around it, and then I, do like a white lace in it, and I spray paint the sole white. Okay. I wanted a contrast sole. And I was like, God, it looks so cool, like red with white sole, or blue with white sole, and white, always a matching lace. I was like, it's cool, Right. So I was spray painting them all the time, taping it off, spray painting the sole, taping it off, cutting it down, ripping the cardboard out. A lot of people started wearing them. Like Guy Mariano, Jerron Wilson. A lot of people started asking me, like, where do you get those, dude? I'm like, I haven't seen you. Dude, you get them. They're Etnies. Like, and that was at the time when it was normal back then to be like, I'll just go to the shop and trade shit. Right. So I told him, I said, dude, that's the right one, man. And I remember in between that, he made these 2 crazy looking ones. Remember those? They came out and they were like mid top, and they were new designs.
Oh yeah, they were gray and black.
Jason Rogers always wore them. Yeah. He was probably in the ad for it, right?
Yep.
And they were I knew what I liked in a shoe. I knew that when it laces a certain way.
Okay.
Like, let's bring this goddamn near perfect example of just perfection out.
He's bringing down his Sal S shoes.
Well, when it laces like this,
okay,
it's actually pulling something, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so skate shoes are typically wide, and there's like a lot of padding in them back then, and so it was always flying off your foot, right?
Yeah.
Remember, for people filming, the shoe goes flying off.
For sure.
Jumping down something, the shoe goes flying off.
Right.
Okay, so when it laces here, it's pulling. It keeps pulling it tighter. If you want to choke them to death, it's just pulling that, and it's fitting on your foot. Now, the ones that went around like this, that doesn't pull anything. That bothered me when I put those on. I'm like, well, first of all, they're ugly, but it's like my foot was moving all over the place, and I was like, dude, they're wide.
Right.
They're wide, and they don't have that. I was like, dude, you can't make them like that. I was like, those are. Oh, look. I go, you had something before, because I go, if you ever make something right, it's like a blind gene. Like, people you don't give it to them. They just trade for it. They go get it. They have to get it, so they get it.
Right.
I go, that shoe had that. I go, Guy, Rudy. I go, everybody, Jerron. I go, everybody I know had them. I go, look, they're in pictures with them. They're cut down. They're like white. They're sprayed. I go, it's not that hard, dude. I go, cut it down. It has a line around it. We got to cut it down. We can't be doing that sole because it comes off on the thing, dude.
Oh, on the
I was like, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
I go, but let's make it. Let's cut it down. Let's do a little white lace in it. And he was like, it was cool because usually
you didn't even skate for him at the time.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did.
I did.
So you got on. So they put you on.
I was happy. I already had an ad with the old Nodis type things, and I liked those, and then the ones that came out after them I liked, and then when they did that, it was the reason why I couldn't ride for Airwalk. I'm like, I can't ride those.
Right.
I can't ride them, and I'm telling you what I could ride and what I think is a lot better than that.
Yeah.
So it was cool because he's like, that was the problem he had at Airwalk. I thought was like, I didn't, you couldn't be like, dude, the room's full of heat. This alien Klingon ass forehead thrown on some laces is fucked up. Why are you making this?
Right.
Nobody's listening to you. There it was like, okay, he's like, okay, let's cut it down and then do that.
Oh.
So he does it, and he actually was, that's cool. I'm like, oh, he listened.
Okay.
Made that shoe, and that shoe did well, right? The natural relationship to it was like, oh, I have an idea. I want to kind of do it. I want to do some different ones. And then I think Rodney Mullen and Ternasky, because they were like really like, dude, that's the guy to have a shoe, man. He's a fashionable guy. He's like really into it. He's always doing research on them, cutting them up, yanking stuff. He's got 9,000 shoes in the thing. I had every Adidas and Jordan. I had everything sitting in the thing. Pre-Fairfax line. I had every shoe. It was just in my room.
Right.
I just had them. I went to Marshall's. I was like, oh, it's a Run DMC Adidas shell toe. I had everything from Marshall's, because Marshall's had the heat of things that got discontinued, and I knew that. So I was like, oh, dude, I'll just go in there, and I always kept my eye open for what was in Marshall's. So
interesting.
That, and just combined with buying, and I just liked shoes, so I was like, oh, and then I would try to apply things. That was the thing. Like that's what people don't understand about shoe design. Do you borrow in skating? You have to know where it was at that time. So am I going to borrow something in my design? 100%. Because how did I arrive at that? I am wearing a certain outfit, and I have shoes on that are making me very happy. Now, as I go to take them off, I have to put some shit on that's lime green with fucking it just wrecks my whole day. And I'm like, dude, I want to skate in what I was wearing before.
Yeah.
But Nike's not going to make them back then. Adidas, they are not making skate shoes. They're not going to. They're not making the shoes that I'm wearing anyway. I'm finding them at Marshall's for the most part. So I'm like, dude, you can take that and turn it into what would look great to be skating in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, so that was like, it wasn't, that's what people don't realize is like, if one of them looks like a Jordan with a sock, it's like, yeah, because I owned that shoe when it was $2,000 in Japan for me to get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I had it, and I had so many of them. I was like playing ball in it, and I'm like pop in the store to get another pair in Carolina blue, and the guy's like, they don't make them in Carolina blue. I'm like, I had them. He's like, what are you talking about? They don't make that. He's like, you're tripping, dude. I'm arguing with the guy at Foot Locker.
Right.
And then I go to Japan, and I'll never forget this moment. I went into like a Stormy or something. I think it was Stormy's.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, there they are. I was like getting a translator, dude. This is when people would go there rudely with stuff and be like, dude, I'm gonna come up on a Walkman. I'm like, how? They're like, I'm gonna sell my board. They give me like $100. The kid will give me $100 for a used one. Remember that deal?
Okay, yeah.
Everybody buy Walkmans. So I go there and I see those shoes there, and I'm like, get the translator, and I'm like, dude, I want to trade some boards for those shoes. I'm thinking I got to give the guy like 2 boards for those shoes. Mm-hmm. Why was it like 15 decks in every shirt and wheel in my bag? I was like,
wow.
God damn, dude. He's like, yeah, dude, those are worth like, it was like, it was just such a limited, rare colorway.
Yeah.
And that's Japan. They just have all that stuff laying around. I was like, God damn, dude.
So you got the shoes?
Yeah, I had already had them, but I played ball in them, and they were all fucked up.
So what did you get these? You got these shoes to wear or just to keep?
No, I got them to wear.
You got them to wear?
I just wear them.
You don't get shoes to keep them.
No,
you just wear them.
I wear them.
Okay.
I mean, back then it was like, I bought the shoes. Back then it was like me and Sheffy were going out all the time. Mm-hmm. So when I went out, it was like, it's 90s hip hop, man. It's like, I need a brand new outfit. I can't wear what I wore last week. So I'm like, I'm like getting a new setup every single time.
Okay.
It's like, I ain't wearing that polo jacket. They saw me in that last week. Right. So we're just getting another. We're getting
fresh. And fresh.
And it's cool back then too, because you go in all these little sneaker shops, and it's like, well, they got a basement, but no one wants to go in the basement because all the old shit's down there. Oh. People don't really care. They're like, can't get rid of it. So you go down there and you're like, dude, man, remember those? Like, look at those.
Yeah.
It's like all types of shit. So that's how we would, that's how you end up having a gang of shoes.
Yeah. So when you were telling them all this stuff, did they want you to design your own shoe?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I went off.
No.
I don't even know what the hell I'm talking
you're
about.
good. You're good. Good. That's what I'm here for.
So it got to the, Rodney and Mike were putting the stuff in my ear. So when I show up at the warehouse, he's like, dude, we're going to do it. We got a great idea. And they had like maybe 10 samples of what they wanted to make.
Okay. Yeah.
And I kind of knew what I wanted to make. And I was like, dude, yeah, those are the way you guys would like it. I go, let me do mine. Let me do it let me give you the one I got in my mind. Huh. Let me draw it out and bring it in, and then we'll go from there.
So you just drew it out.
I knew what I wanted. Oh. I had millions of shoes. And I knew
you're like, if I could make the perfect shoe, this is what it would be.
I knew I had what I liked about the Nada shoe. It was all rubber. All of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
even like the heel part.
Overkill. Yeah. Because it was hard to feel the board. Mm-hmm. What I liked about it was, I liked the way that Nodis and Julian and Mickey Ray's, I liked the way they looked in those shoes when they got completely worn out. Right. More than when they were brand new. Oh. I was like, they look cool. Yeah. A little busted lace retied, and it was all broken. And I'm like, they don't really make shoes and skate that look cool when they break in, because they don't break in, they rip apart completely. Yeah. And then by the time they break into where they would look cool like that, they're gone. They were gone, right? So I was like, I looked at the rubber on his, and I'm like, dude, you could just put the rubber right there. I was like, that's where it's gonna go, dude. And the original design, I had this. Okay. And they didn't want to do it the first time. They're like, I said, you have to. I go, because it will not allow me to break it in and get it to where I want if you don't put this there, dude.
So they didn't put the little rubber thing on the first version.
It doesn't have it on the first one.
Oh. Didn't the first version also have a panel right here?
No. Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. I didn't like that either. I only wanted this. Huh? I knew I was looking at Fila's and all these shoes I had, and they were like that, and they were black soles with white, but you could see a little bit of the white again. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want that. I want it to look like that, So that was cool. The second time around, he really went with it and just did it. And the first sole, that was not the sole that I had made. The sole I made looked exactly like this. This is but it was plain. The first one had a lot of waves and patterns in it, And it probably came off the shoes that I told you that came before it that I didn't really like.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first shoe, you didn't really get what you wanted.
Well, it's a smaller company, so
it was a start.
Investing in a sole is a major undertaking.
Of course.
So it was cool, though, because when it came out, it was well received. It was like, you know, Mike Carroll, a lot of guys were wearing it.
Oh, wow.
You know, and they were like, yeah, dude, I think it came out right around the Europe, when everyone would go to the Europe contest. And they were telling me, dude, everybody had them on over there. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Because I put a lot of work into it.
Were you designing different, like, did you have a bunch of shoes that you were designing back then? Just like a bunch of drawings? Or was this kind of like, oh, no, I already know what I want?
No, I knew it.
Yeah.
Because I knew, like, what I couldn't, I knew what I didn't like in so many of them. And then I knew what I liked.
But you were never sitting at home, like, when you were bored one day and just drawing shoes? Did you ever do that?
I drew them all the time because I wanted to design more than just mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So I would do that a lot. And I would, you know, back then, like I said, I purposely wanted to base it on, like, what I could wear and feel really, you know, like, oh, and then have to take it off.
You wanted a skate shoe that you and Sheffy could go to the club in. That's what you want. Pretty much. Right? You wanted to go skate and then just go to the club.
That's still the goal, yeah.
The first Etnies, the Sals, were they the 23s as well, or did that come later?
And that was on the first, yeah.
That was on the first?
Yeah.
What was that? Was that Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Jordan, and
I mean, who doesn't, right?
And it was such a, you know, it was like, it wasn't like a knockoff to do that, because at the time it was like, I lived with Ken Block, you know, and he threw that idea out.
Oh, he did? Oh, okay.
I had it all over boards and stuff already, like silhouette or whatever, you know, and like, he threw that out there, dude. You should put the number back there, dude. And
perfect.
And I thought it was funny because I was like, yeah, that's like, how surreal is it that you get a signature shoe? Who has them?
Right.
You know, basketball players have them.
And then how many versions did you make until you finally landed on the ones that are kind of stuck?
This is the second one.
That's the second one.
Yeah, because
second try, nailed it.
Yeah, because they took the sole and then used it on everything else. They were able to use it and get mileage out of it. You know,
okay.
Like on
they said we'll invest so we could use it on a more.
It was
shoes.
Good enough to use on, you know, to use on Excels and everything.
Right.
That was made. The second one you made was on S, or was it on the?
It was on Etnies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like them, but I personally, you know, I'm always the guy trying to get them as slim as the.
Okay. Right.
You know, like the way that I told you. I was always trying to get them like what you would call normal.
Okay.
You know.
Right.
But it's cool. I mean, I would love that. I would love to go back
Thinner.
and do it just one. Leave it like that for people that like it like that. But
Right,
I like
right.
to have an older, more mature, thinner.
Yes. I see.
You know,
I see.
my, you know, the clothes are a little tighter.
So second try. I mean, so the shoe's a hit, right?
Right.
They're selling out there, and then how long did that last on Etnies?
They stopped doing Etnies and started America because of some shit, right?
Oh yeah.
No. They were doing Etnies, and Etnies was fine, but they decided they wanted to do S. I think it was to do with distribution. I think it was like Etnies is going to go and spread wide.
Okay.
We'll come back and do S.
To keep
it core.
Keep it more core.
Oh.
So it was like a transfer
right.
of like
how many years before when you did your first shoe till they transferred to S?
It felt like if I got that shoe
93, is it 94?
94.
It's weird because I do remember doing Founding Elwood in 95 and doing that at my house.
Yeah,
but it felt like, okay, that's. So then it had to be 94, 95 when S came out.
When did you make the first shoe?
That one immediately became available on S. So you had to go to S to get it.
But when you had it on Etnies though,
that had to be like about 93.
Yeah.
So then when they made S, were you like, okay, cool, I'm going to go to S? And I mean, you already had your shoe on Etnies, right?
Yeah.
It was already known. Your shoe was on Etnies,
right.
So.
And then
were you like, well, wait a minute, I have this shoe on Etnies, but then now they wanted you to go to S, right?
But not even how, like, you have a new shoe on S, it's also, you're just making a whole new team with Eric Costin, and it's like a whole new look, and it's like more athletic looking, and it's like the top dudes.
Yeah, it's all top tier dudes.
Right. Like all you, and you're just like, yeah, sure.
Well, they didn't start it like that, though.
Yeah.
You know? They were like starting a new thing.
Okay.
and it was to make them a little bit more technical.
Oh, okay.
And then they built the team on after that. You know, I didn't know, because I didn't know who was going to be on the team so much back then. So it was like,
and you were the first dude on S, right?
Yeah. So,
wow.
So I was wondering, like, well, who's all of a sudden going to be on there? You know, is it like going to be?
But most of those guys were already on like America and Etnies anyways.
Yeah. But he didn't announce it right away because I didn't know.
So were you reluctant to go to S, or was it
from a financial standpoint? Yeah, because it's like starting the thing over. You know, and I'm like, well, as the distribution gets smaller, and I was, you know, a bit concerned on that. But but it was cool because it was like I had been working on another shoe, you know, and they were like, oh, the mid, you know, they were like, well, we can bring that over there, and then you can have both of those.
Oh, yeah.
So that was cool.
There's the mid.
Oh, yeah, the mid's great.
The newer version of it.
Yeah.
Today's sized version.
To me, that's a great looking shoe.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's a great looking shoe.
But did you, when you went to S, did you feel like it was more up your alley of designing shoes for something like that? Like it was a better, like your type of style?
Well, I felt like at Etnies they were doing, it was cool because it was like, you know, they allowed me to do all this stuff. Yeah. But then it was kind of getting a little bit, it was expanding in maybe a direction that had all types of things, right? Yeah. So it was cool to, have it a little more...
it's like more athletic and...
more technology-driven.
Technology.
And it ended up with a really, you know, obviously a really great team. That was cool, you know.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
When did they bring the shoe back?
I've had it maybe like...
Yeah,
I've had it reissued like 3 times.
Oh, you 3 times?
Yeah.
Wow. This
clause has the Stan Smith in it. the Chuck Taylor Stan Smith. It's permanent.
No, I mean, but they had to switch the 23 around though.
Yeah, I think
couldn't use Jordan's number.
But the cool thing though is if you hold this to a mirror,
it says 23 in the mirror.
In the mirror, right?
Yeah. But then it says S.
Yeah. I think the most important thing about that was just the branding that you could always see in photos. You're like, oh, that's that thing. You know.
I just remember them always being black shoes with the white S logo on the back. 23. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times in shots, like you wonder, what are they wearing? You know, you'd be like, what is that? And you catch a little piece of it, and you're like, oh,
right.
That was cool. Just so brilliant. Ken Block's part to throw that 2-3 in there.
No, it's fucking great.
Well, then all the pros back then, that's like right when I started skating, and you'd see Eric Kost and Ronnie
everybody.
Krieger. Like you would see everybody wearing that. And the video started to get out way more back then, I felt like, around that era.
You said you were living with Ken Block for a bit, right?
Yeah, I was.
Did Ken ever try to get you come over to DC and design shoes?
Pierre actually helped him make shoes in the beginning.
That's what
that's what Don was saying.
And I helped him a little with the Danny and the Colin.
Oh, really?
From the ons, you know, and he had jokingly said, dude, you should just ride for DC, but I wouldn't do that to you because you're not going to make that kind of money you're making over there, you know? He was starting it, you know?
Yeah.
Did that money, I mean, we don't have to talk exact numbers, but did it go off pretty fast, all the S stuff? Like, did it seem to take off pretty good? Like,
well, it was incredible, you know? It was like, because, I mean, how do you get paid back then? It's the same riding for boards. Like, we were already getting, you know, we were always taken care of because Rocco and Ternasky and those guys were all like, yeah, we'll get the guys we like and they'll give them a minimum. So you don't have to worry about what you sell. So we already had that cushion, but it was like, it's kind of been the same amount almost up till this point where it's just like, it wasn't like holy shit money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was like, I mean, it wasn't too many people getting money like that back then. So it was like, fuck, it was hip hop. I'm saying it just like, you know, I was very frugal. So I was like, you know.
You save your money.
Well, I just deposit it. I mean, what am I going to buy? A skateboard?
Shoes. You buy shoes.
I mean, I'd get a car, but I made enough money to that's the thing. I bought cars that I liked and they looked like they'd be super expensive, but it was like, you know, not really. You know, I'd get them.
When you guys moved to S, better technology, do you think the shoe was better on S or better on Etnies? Or the same?
I don't think they took any shortcuts on Etnies. I think, you know, they had the same quality.
Same shoe then.
But they were less concerned with what the price was going to end up at. So it allowed me to, you know, the issue may have been like if I would have put a sock in something on Etnies, it might have been like, oh, that costs too much.
Right.
Yeah.
When I do it there, it's like you're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
Yeah.
That's you know, pushing it.
So every time they reissue this, do they slim it down and slim it down and slim? So maybe by the 5th one they reissue, they'll be how you want it.
Yeah, they get slimmer every time.
Right.
You know, I would just like to make one. I would like to make one, you know, that in addition, because I think that's what I think would be missing.
Well, it's cool because I mean we're just doing this one now. Is this technically? I have an argument about this. Is like the 97 or is it 98?
It's a 97.
It's a 97, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, no, it's 98. I'm like, these are 97s, dude. These ones are coming out like next week.
We're
But like, what is this
commercial right now?
I know.
Yeah, but what is this really? What was this inspired by?
If you know sneakers, it was like you notice like the rubber toe piece and things like that. It's like I was into like ACG shoes, and I always thought it was cool like how they could blend like rubber panels and stuff on there that look like you want them there. It isn't like, oh, it's some gross rubber thing. So it kind of had that mixed in with a little bit of some panels from things, but it was more, that one's probably the more one of the original ones that I designed, where it wasn't pulling so much from something, you know.
So you were always into designing shoes, but you started your own companies. You started 23.
Elwood.
Elwood.
Yeah.
And the 23 just turned into aesthetics at that point, right?
When Ternasky had passed, you know, what I wanted to do was I really wanted to get involved with I just thought the graphics could always be better coming from H Street and Plan B. I really wanted to get involved in that. They just had a way they were going to do stuff. So the only time I ever want to start something or design something is when I want to do something completely different that I agree with and that I could get behind. So when I was writing for Drawers, you know, I was happy and I was getting paid, and I told him, I said, man, I love you guys to death, but when I go in the warehouse, there's nothing for me to take out of there. You know, my aesthetic was more like, I liked what Double RL had done. Ralph Lauren had done with Double RL, which was like basically all the waterproof and windproof stuff and all that, you know, anything tech was kind of like, it was like they were more into the classic basic stuff. You know, it was like, oh, let's make shirts that have buttons on them. Let's make let's make a Harrington looking jacket. Let's do denim and twill. And so when I got to that point, I was like, dude, I'm just going to do my own denim. So everything at Elwood was like the exact opposite of what you had at Drawers. You know, it was like
just classic.
Yeah,
styles.
more classic styles. Yeah. And things that, you know, people weren't accustomed to skating in shirts that had buttons on them.
Right.
You know, that was hard for accounts to swallow, that I had shirts that had buttons that button down the front.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They were like, it's a standard piece now, but they were like, where are you going with this? You know?
Oh,
that's crazy.
And I always, that's what I thought was cool. I always had a love for Supreme because he never sold anything that I thought was crazy. And I loved that they had been by the booth and they were like, I love it. We'll take it.
Oh,
you
wow.
know? I was like, that's cool, because I always, you know, if I went in that store in New York, you know, it was always, they got a lot of cool stuff in here.
Right.
Now, when I got to 23, I'll tell you what was confusing about that was I liked the 23 and I liked the ad, how it came out. It was like a Jordan halftime show.
Yeah.
How'd you get in the game and do that? You know, it was like funny. You know, I thought I liked that. But then, you know, I was split because my personality's all over the place. So it's like some of my favorite artists are like Robert Williams or Todd Short, who do a lot of lowbrow hot rod art. So it looked kind of, I was like, oh, I see where it's kind of weird, like, because I have the Jordan-esque thing, and people are really hyped on that. And then on the boards, I love the artwork, but the artwork was a lot different from what that was, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, mine had like a voodoo, you know, inspired guy crashing in a 52 Ford, you know, and it was like it was Robert Williams influence, you know? And you look at the Bertinos, like, I love that graphic where it's like Heaven's Gate, you know, and they're all dead in the bunk bed with the Cortez. But it kind of had like it's a little bit of a it's like a little bit of a contrast, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
That taught me something, because I was like, 23, it seems really, and then the top looked like a warped Hot Wheel, but a skateboard with a engine block hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the contrast is it's all over the place.
Okay.
But you're noticing that as it's going on, or did at one point you were like,
no, I noticed it, and the problem I had there, it was like this. When I started it, I had this attitude. I was looking at all the brands and the brands that would dip in and out of skating, and I was like, man, yeah, Stussy's like in all the skate shops. I was like, and they just cutting so better than everyone. And I kept saying, I was like, everyone keeps telling me the same thing. They're like, you can't do a skateboard brand and make clothes. They're like, you have to start out with one gene, and you have to work your way into making. That's how people did it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have it was like Powell formula. You start out with like a sweatpants with some hamster skeletons down the leg, and then you work your way into like a jacket and a couple other things, right? Yeah. I said, no, dude.
Yeah, you start at the top.
I said, no, dude, I want to start out like Stussy with boards. I want to get cool looking dudes that everyone keeps telling me they're old and nobody wants them. I go, and they're all fighting over young, tiny little kids. I go, that's cool. I go, I don't want those kids. I go, you
had the young kids. I mean, you had young kids that were
Van
England. You had Van England, you had Dill.
No. You got to understand, when this came out, it was like they were fighting for like termite age kids.
Oh god.
Okay, so the people I was getting weren't very hard to get, because they were supposedly diminishing in value.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the industry was looking at it, right? So there, I didn't have the support to come out with that full line of clothes, right? So that's why I had pieces like, it'd be like one pretty cool looking windbreaker that would come out, and it would look more like it would fit more with the Jordan-esque type thing, but then the graphics on the board. So I started noticing that's how companies were. I was like, man, it's really hard for like certain companies to make jeans, because it just doesn't seem right if they have them.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's really hard to brand certain things, because it's a conflict with everything. So when I got to aesthetics, I felt like I really perfected a formula. I was like, no, dude. I was like, aesthetics means I can make anything. It's the beauty of whatever it is on there. Mm-hmm. The apparel, I was like, it's a contrast of Elwood. This is where you get anything, nylon, and you get track pants, and you get tech stuff. And I'm like, this is cool. And then the graphics, I was like, and they don't always have to be the same way, but I want them to be like somewhat computer generated, and I was like, but I don't really care for them to always be like that. I want it to be like, I can use that artist or this artist, and you'll never really get lost on, I felt like 23 had a lot more limitations to it for that reason.
And did you just stop 23 because you knew you didn't want to deal with that anymore?
No. It's like everybody, if you look at everybody, like from Templeton to Vallely to whoever started a board company, they don't have one. They always had to have one.
Yeah.
And then something happened, and they're like, and then they got to start another one, like television or Blue or something. You can't do it right the first time. You're just learning how to do it. So it could be like it's not structured right, or just something ain't working the way it should have been, and you learn from it, and you get in this dispute where it causes you to have to go and do another one,
Right. So you had partners in the whole thing, or? Yeah.
It was a confusing partnership, because I just, my whole attitude was I don't want to know. I didn't want to know that much about business. I just wanted to kind of like skate, and that took away a lot of my skating. Like I designed everything. Right. If
a lot of fucking work.
If you're looking at graphics on boards, if you're looking at the clothing, labels, a lot, it's like I had to do, I took the load of doing.
Wow.
And are you a perfectionist too? Like you wanted like this little detail on this piece of clothing, or were you more
so than partners a lot of the times, because I was like, dude, I had a high standard for what I was making, because I had a closet with some high standard ass shit in it. So it was like, if I'm referencing anything, I'm like, that piece is like that because of this.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what became hard at Elwood, was like, I felt really good in I felt great about making denim. I knew it. I had every jean.
Yeah.
I had gone through every type of phase in jeans. Not for any other reason, but just to know about them.
Okay.
You know, so it was like Levi's. You know, there was a time when Levi's was just done, and everyone was like, "Oh, lucky brand," and they were not wearing Levi's. No one would touch them. You know, and it was like, so I saw. You know, I just like, okay, let me. You know, it's like, what do you name it? I had Adriana Goldschmidt. I just had everything, and I'm like, oh, they put that wash, they whisker it, they bake it. Like
you knew it.
Yeah, and I was like, that fit is not that cool. It's like very flared out, you know, and it was like, and I knew what not to touch. I would never, a lot of people in skate did, but I had a good filter. I was like, no, dude, I don't make a true religion. A lot of people had that cut. A lot of people had that Chris Angel cut. Okay. I was like, nope. I was like, no, dude, I know better than that.
I think Kelly still wears his Chris Angel cut.
No way.
No, you don't want to? Okay.
Never had those. Never had those.
So it was, you know, I knew what I wanted to make, and that's what was cool about that one. Is kind of like I felt like every season I could look back at stuff and be like, oh, I know what was wrong with that, and then it just kept getting better and better to me.
Well, what's next for Sal? What can we look forward to?
What's the future hold for Sal Barbier?
What's going on?
Is that in terms of Skateland?
I mean, in terms of life and like, what do you got going on? Like,
I'm at a crossroads.
Are you?
I'm trying to get an encore.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Trying to figure some things out.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, dude, we should wrap this up. Thank you so much for good luck with the how long are you coming out with those?
97's coming out this next week.
Okay. So and then the Sal 23s. Well, you can't put 23, so but it is a 23.
Yeah.
Look at it in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's a 20. It's
That's
a 23.
the reference to it, right?
Right.
And
right,
the SLB, the mid tops.
Do some Sal flips. Huh?
Yeah.
What's the secret to a Sal flip? Or a hand flip, as you like to call them?
You really have to get ahead of the board. You know, you have to jump forward.
Did they name that? I mean, who did somebody give you that? Did somebody?
Yeah, I would never name something after myself.
I don't know. I heard that you were going around.
If I were to, I would have chosen another.
You would just, yeah.
I'd taken another trick. You know,
right? Yeah. Hey, but
I love it. You know, every time I'm in the middle of the country, someone reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I can do them, bro. I was always a fan of rap rock.
Yeah.
And some construction shoes, skateboard shoes that construction people wear.
Right.
Something that's usually on sale and it's big and wide and. The person usually has a tank top and a lowered Escort GT, and they're like, dude, I got him, bro. Yeah.